Hey, what's going on YouTube? Domino21 here, and as many of you guys have been requesting, I'm here to do an updated version of my Dragonic Overlord The End deck. Overall, this deck has been through a lot of testing ever since I first made this deck upon the release of Set 5. Been to a lot of local tournaments with it, and this was my main deck that I did play throughout the qualifier events. I did come in 5th place at a regionals with it. And I guess it wasn't too bad of a showing. Unfortunately, I didn't make 1st or 2nd place, which was the goal. But, I mean, overall the deck ran really well. And I did make a few modifications now that I did some more last minute testing, of course. And I think I found a build that I find to be very consistent for my playstyle and just really gets the job done overall. So, yeah, without further ado, let's actually get to it. Excuse me. Ugh. Allergies, man. So, first off, the starter, Lizard Soldier Conroe. As I preach with practically all my Kagero videos, he's arguably the best starter for his respective clan. Simple as that. Then next up for grade 3s, you have your 4 copies of The End and 4 Dragonic Overlord. Simple as that. 4 of each. What I really like is that they all have base 11k, pretty good bodies on them. And then for grade 2s, you have your 4 copies of Burning Horn. I'd say these, of course, is a staple in any The End deck, just because, you know, 12k attackers are very precious in a cross-ride format, and it's really important to be able to hit those perfect numbers, so these help you get there. So I like 4 of those. Then next up, you have your 3 Prowling Dragon Striken. It's a card I've been slowly growing to like more and more. Once I actually got a hold of the best effective strategy to use them. So the idea with Striken, of course, is to prevent your opponent from trying to rush you too early on. Or if they choose to, then they're going to have to commit some extra boosters on the field and essentially commit to almost a full attacking field earlier than maybe they would like to if they wish to push some damage the turn you ride Striken. Now, of course, with the release of Set 8, you have Aqua Force, which can be a pretty scary deck when they do open a Storm Rider Basil and some attackers, because they can initiate a nice good multiple attacks early on. So Striking does help block them because most of their attacks are unboosted, so it protects you from it. And of course, he is like a little pseudo break ride, so the idea with him, of course, is you sit on him for a turn. If your opponent commits to the field to try and push damage, then you start calling your Tejases, or Tejases, whatever you want to call them, to start sniping out their boosters, or Berserk Dragons, so you can just start minusing their field and start going after their rear guards. So if your opponent chooses to commit to their field to go after the Striken, you punish them a turn later. And if they choose not to, then, well, you just save yourself some more cards and some extra damage, because your opponent's not looking to be very aggressive with you the following turn you ride him. So that's kind of the idea behind him. So whenever I ride him, I usually don't call any rear guards because I don't want any other targets except him for my opponent to attack. So that's the whole idea with Striken. So as you saw, I was running the 2 Tejas and 2 Berserks. I like the Berserk just to be able to clean up some spare counterblast you may have late game. Since you're the end, you're not really expected to Persona Blast so many times every game, so he's good to help clean up extra counterblast, get rid of any pesky nuisances off the field. Pretty good to hit Basils too, so it's one reason why Kagero is so good against Aqua Force. So that's 11 grade 2s there. Oh, sorry guys, little allergies, man. Allergy season is OP. Next up for grade 1s, you have 4 copies of Bahr, 8 standard 8k, 4 perfect guards. I really like 4 perfect guards just because I like being able to draw into them more often. That way I don't have to use Conroe to search for one. Eventually, I usually Conroe into a perfect guard, maybe late game if I never used him and I'm running out of defenses. But, you know, that's really what makes Conroe so versatile, is you can just use them anytime you want. And, I mean, Kagero has some of the best grade 1s in the game to toolbox into. But yeah, I like the 4 perfect guards. It's working out for me. Then you have 3 Kimnara. Now, I decided to actually run 3 just because it's really important to have that guaranteed snipe. So, it's like I always said, you know, if your opponent's dealing with 11k or even a 13k Vanguard, boosters are very precious to them. So being able to use Kimnara just to keep controlling the field, keep sniping out their boosters, is very key. That way it just keeps your opponent from consistently trying to hit numbers against you. Now also, when you're playing against decks like, let's say, the Arbros Dragon Ride Chain or the Spectral Duke, of course, they rely on having a rearguard remaining on their field to continue the ride chain, so Kimnaras can put a stop to that too as well. So, really amazing card. Just never has been outdated ever since its release. And then next up you have 2 copies of Aermo. I no longer play Gojos anymore. I like Aermo a lot for a couple of reasons. A couple of things I do with it. Now obviously if you're grade locked, you just Conroe into an Aermo and put it behind the Vanguard and start cycling out your hand. Your hand can get clogged sometimes with the spare grade 3s in your hand and any spare draw triggers you have, so it's nice to help cycle out your hand, get closer to your Persona Blast. One thing that a lot of people don't even know too is, let's say I attack with the end boosted by Aermo, as my Vanguard that is. So I attack, it hits. If I don't have the Persona Blast in my hand, you can use Aermo's skill first to discard and draw, and if I happen to draw into the end, at that point, I could still activate his skill because they're both their skills are activating at the same time, technically. So then I can just use Overlord The End skill to go for the Persona Blast. So it's kind of like a last chance effort to go for it. So if you put Aermo behind a crossword in the end, it's still hitting for 19, which is good to help pressure any 9k rear guards, which are very common. Or if not, my favorite thing to do is to put the Aermo behind the Tejas and have Tejas snipe out back rows. That way you can still cycle out your hand and force out possible 10k shields out to your opponent's back rows. So a couple things I like to do with the Aermo. So it's a really amazing card. I definitely miss not having it in the deck from before. And then last but not least, the one Heatnail. Now Heatnail does play a little bit of a smaller role this time around. The idea with Heatnail, he's kind of just there for pressure as always. I don't really use him to, like, if I really have to kill something on the field, I'd rather not rely on the Heatnail, I'd rather rely on the Kimnara. But now, what's nice is, of course, you have Conroe. So whatever you need, any of these yummy grade 1s you need, you can Conroe into it. So there are times where maybe I want to force shield out from my opponent, or maybe I just want to try to maintain a pressure field. I could just Conroe into the Heatnail, put it behind my Vanguard, and if my opponent has like a very important grade 1 he wants to keep, I mean, he's like forced to block the Heatnail back by a Vanguard. So it helps maintain pressure. I think the 1's just fine. I mean, you can honestly just not play it and be fine with it. So the tech 1 should be fine. So that's all my grade 1s. So overall, the ratio is 8 grade 3s, 11 grade 2s, 14 grade 1s. Works out really good. And then last but not least, they're the triggers. You're on 7 crit, 4 draw, or 5 draw. You gotta play the Monica if you ever play draw triggers, because she's like the best draw trigger in the game. I don't care what anyone says. She's actually the only good looking card in Kagero. And then you have the Genjo, of course. So 7-5. 7-5's been working pretty well. Previously when I was running 6-6, the 6-6 was okay, but I felt like it wasn't aggressive enough because there were plenty of times where I'll hit a draw trigger, especially like, let's say my opponent no guards the end. There are plenty of times where I hit a draw trigger and I just kind of wish it was a crit, or maybe mid-game, draw triggers are nice, but I want to keep pressuring and pushing out damage with critical triggers. So I end up just running 7-5. It works out really well. So it's working out really well. I think for the most part, like, if you're really not sure what to do for a trigger lineup and you're running crits and draws, just do 7-5. I think that's the most balanced trigger lineup to run. So yeah, no stand triggers. I don't know, I didn't like stand triggers personally. I just like 7 crit 5 draw. I think it's just more consistent and stable for me. But yeah, there you have it, guys. So that's just my updated deck profile for the end. Overall, like I said, it's still one of the best, if not arguably the best deck in the game. Just really doesn't have many bad matchups. It's just really up to the player to make the most out of the situations you're in and just kind of figure out how to best maintain pressure on your opponent while controlling their field, So, there's a lot of stuff. There's a little more to this deck than people give it. But yeah, overall, I still very much enjoy this deck and still one of my favorite decks in the game to play. So yeah, on that, guys, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, any questions you have and such. I'm definitely gonna try and get some more matches going for you guys. So definitely leave some suggestions if you like. And as always, give a thumbs up to the video. That's always appreciated. And as always, be subscribed to my channel if you haven't. Other than that, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.